27th of December, 1979. The cold winters of Afghanistan had already blanketed Kabul and Tajbek Palace in snow, but it wasn't going to deter the Soviets from what was about to happen. For a long time, Afghanistan was a centre of international interest. It served as a buffer between the Russian Empire and the British Raj during the 19th century, with both sides trying to conquer it to expand their empires. From 1879 to 1926, the area was a British protectorate, becoming fully independent in 1926 as the Kingdom of Afghanistan. In 1978, the country reformed as the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan, as a Marxist Socialist Republic. The country worked to become friends with its neighbour, the Soviet Union, who was trying to expand their influence in Central Asia. Nur Muhammad Taraki, a pro-Soviet socialist, was the president of the republic at the time. He was deposed and overthrown by Hafizullah Amin on the 14th of December 1979. Taraki was the main link that kept the budding relationship between Afghanistan and the Soviet Union. After his disappearance and eventual death, relations deteriorated, with the finger pointed at Amin and his followers for the alleged assassination of Taraki. By late December, relations had fallen to a bitter hatred for Amin by the Soviet Union. He was seen as a criminal, but was not aware of this due to the fact that he widely ignored the Russians. The Soviets planned a coup, in which they would assassinate Amin and replace him with Babrak Kemal, an Afghani communist. Originally Sultan Hussein, he changed his name to Babrak Kemal in prison, which translates as Comrade of the Workers. Amin took residence in Tajbek Palace, the area north of Kabul. The palace was built in the 1920s and served as the house of the royal family since. During Storm-333, Tajbek was guarded by a garrison of 2,200 men from the Afghani Army National Guards as well as the Presidential Guards. The Soviet forces were a lot smaller in comparison, consisting of only 661 men. Of them, 24 were from Grom and 30 from Zenith, both divisions of the KGB. There were also 87 troops from the 345th Airborne Regiment and 520 of the 154th Muslim Battalion, a Spetsnaz group made up of soldiers from the Central Asian republics. This battalion was actually created earlier in 1979 and per request of the Afghani president to protect Tajbek Palace, as he did not have faith in the local Afghani forces to protect them. That was one thing he was right about. The assault began on the 27th of December. The Grom units from Alpha were tasked with targeting Amin, while Zenith was to find factual evidence that he was collaborating with the United States. Soviet soldiers began arriving at the palace in 9 armoured personnel carriers. This included men from the 154th, Alpha and Zenith. There were a lot of people inside the palace at night, as there was a party to show off the newly refurbished palace. Oleg Balashov, the commanding officer of the Alpha Group present, had surveyed the area earlier. He felt the area was a death trap due to its location built on top of a hill. Amin's troops opened fire, targeting the first and last BMPs in the convoy. Balashov's was disabled, forcing him and his men to escape. Being the one at the front, all 5 men inside were wounded almost instantly, but saved due to their armour and helmets. During the initial phase of the assault, 80% of the KGB operatives were wounded. One of the witnesses inside the building described a loud explosion, before her and the other party guests ran fleeing for their lives. Men from the 154th assisted the KGB operatives and men from the 345th into the palace. Soviet forces stomped and killed any Afghan forces that opposed them. While all of this was happening, Amin was still not aware exactly what was happening. Still thinking the Soviets were on his side, he said to his adjutant, "The Soviets will help us." After being informed that the Soviets were the ones raiding them, he called them a liar and attempted to call the Chief of General Staff. After receiving no reply, he muttered, "I guessed it. It's all true." He was captured alive by members of Grom, drifting in and out of consciousness due to his medication being stopped. Medication from an earlier incident regarding poison. He was later assumed to be executed, but no eyewitnesses have ever come to confirm what exactly happened. After the siege, the bodies were wrapped in carpet and buried nearby, given no ceremony while the palace burned in the distance. Some 400 of the members of the Presidential Guard and the Army National Guards were killed in action. 150 of the 180 palace guards surrendered once they realized they were being attacked by the Soviets and not opposing the Afghanis. This event would spark the 9-year-long war and the Soviet intervention in Afghanistan that would lead to over 2 million people dead. During this period, Taj Beg Palace was rebuilt and used as a command HQ for the Soviet 40th Army, the fighting force of the USSR during the 9-year period.